Hey guys, are you ready to transform your mind so you can transform your life? Coach Myrna brings you one-on-one coaching and expert guests weekly to help you to grow. Because happiness is the progressive realization of a worthy goal.
Looking for personal growth? Let's do it. This episode is brought to you by Spark Energy Plus Focus. Let me share something personal. I'm actually very sensitive to caffeine, so starting my day with strong coffee doesn't work for me. I feel energized throughout the day, and then I'm up half the night. That's why I like Spark Energy. It gives me clean, steady energy without the caffeine overload. I can start my morning with Spark, get my workout in, record my podcast, and stay focused throughout the day and not have that 4 p.m. fade. Spark Energy Plus Focus is offering 30% off and free shipping. Go to drinkspark.com and use code TRANSFORM at checkout. That is DRINKSPARK.com. Use code TRANSFORM for 30% off plus free shipping.
The brutal treatment of billions of cows. Cows are extremely sensitive beings. So are pigs. They can suffer more than dogs, and we kill billions of them for years. So I know in my heart that Jesus would absolutely reject our wholesale factory farming system, the amount of bloodshed, the amount of pain and suffering it inflicts, and the way it affects our human health. Us being healthy is an act of love to God. God gave all of us a mission on earth, and if we're cutting our lives short, we're cutting God's design for us short as well.
Welcome back to the Transform Your Mind to Transform Your Life radio, podcast, and television show. I'm your host, life coach Myrna Young, and sitting in the guest chair today is James Benefico. James and I are going to be talking on the topic healing the body, renewing the mind, and returning to God's design. Welcome, James.
Thanks. I'm so happy to be here. Beautiful and Sebastian.
Yeah, wow. This is a unique conversation and a unique twist for me and the listeners. So I can't wait to get into it myself. Awesome. Right. So, for you returning visitors or new visitors, today's guest has a story that will challenge how you think about health, grief, faith, and discipline. James Benefico is the founder of Organic Muscle, the world's first USDA organic pre-workout brand, and co-host of the Jesus Way podcast. Love that. Which has reached over 1 million streams. After walking through devastating personal loss and confronting the dark side of the fitness industry, James turned away from synthetic shortcuts and towards prayer, fasting, and plant-based living, losing over 80 pounds. He looks good, y'all. And rebuilding his life from the inside out. This conversation isn't just about fitness. It's about obedience, resilience, treating your body like God's design, and going against broken wellness system. If you ever felt betrayed by your body, your past, or even the industry that promised healing, this episode is for you. Like I said, this is a unique twist on healing, and I can't wait to get into it. But I'm curious, as we start our conversation today, James, your transformation began with a deep personal tragedy. Can you take us back to that moment? What broke you and what ultimately woke you up spiritually and physically?
Well, there's actually been, thank you for that wonderful introduction, by the way. But, I've had several distinct crises over the course of my life that really impacted me and developed my character in a significant way. And I think these crises are almost a way that God kind of can shake us out of our spiritual slumber. If we're just going through life on autopilot, willy-nilly, there's not really a catalyst to change and grow closer to God. So one of the main catalysts was my mother getting cancer. And seeing her struggles in the hospital, going through chemo and radiation, and seeing children in the hospital and all that, it really affected me. It was so sad, and it seemed so unfair. So that led me on the path to learn more about health and nutrition because I honestly just really I never wanted to go back there. I didn't want to go for myself. I didn't want to go for anyone I loved. So
Mm.
that caused me to dedicate my life to the cause of health and nutrition and all of that. But the other catalyst that really, it destroyed me and I had to rebuild myself was the suicide of my best friend.
Mm.
So that we were very close. He helped me in the early stages of organic muscle, and we're, friends since we were young. We moved to Austin together. So I didn't see it coming from a mile away. I thought I was the sad, mopey guy. He was the happy guy.
Mm.
So I was just so sad and broken up that it caused me to really yearn for God earnestly instead of kind of just I think a lot of people are just half-hearted, I'll go to church sometimes. But when you encounter heartbreak like that, you either let it destroy you and you just turn into pleasure or distraction or whatever, or you have a choice where you could really seek a higher level of truth. So that's what I did, and I found some really interesting things that saved me along the way.
Wow. Wow. So many circlebacks there. That's amazing. And you're right. There's a lot of Christians. I mean, I heard the term a while back, sold out for God. And there's people that are sold out and some people that are lukewarm.
Mhm.
But I hear you. Most of us are not sold out. Like I'm a Christian too, and I wouldn't say that I'm sold out, but I live a good life. But
Mhm.
so you thought that because cancer is one of those things that I mean, I've heard that a lot of people that are very, take care of their body still get cancer. So
Mhm.
you felt that your mother getting cancer, there was something nutrition wise that you can do to prevent that? Talk to us about that.
Yeah, it's a great question, and I do believe that there's different circumstances that can contribute to cancer, and there could be some kind of genetic component. But I do believe that good nutrition gives you a way better shot of never developing cancer, even if you do have a predisposition, right? There's also environmental factors, and I believe there's huge emotional factors as well. If someone goes through life, with toxic relations or a toxic relationship with themselves where they hold on to a lot of anger or sadness, whatever it might be, think that that can manifest as disease within the body. So it's not an all size fits all, but yeah, from my research, we absolutely can help our chances. Definitely.
Okay. Right. Okay. All right. So that's good to know because it's true. I mean, um, uh, and all the components that you mentioned, lifestyle, right. People that have gone through, heartbreak and have gone through some really difficult things in life, they develop cancer, and yeah, and of course, if you're eating bad things like you're saying meat or red meat, which is basically what you are against or what you're not for. I shouldn't want to use the word against. It's part of it as well. All right. So that's the first circle back. Now the second circle back was your friend that committed suicide. Yes. And a lot of times, we see the depression. A lot of times, I've had someone very close to me, my daughter's fiance, that we're going to get married, and he has always talked about that he's gonna kill himself. Nobody believed that he was gonna do it. But then there's the other people that you said, like your friend, or like some of the famous people that we know, like Robin Williams and
Mm.
that guy that was on the Ellen show, who were
Um,
people that were very happy and think that everything was going well for them, and but you can't tell what's in their mind. So um uh, going towards God, because my show is about transforming your mind. You're talking about renewing your mind, and depression, which you can't really kill yourself unless you're not depressed. That's what I think. But so depression and renewing your mind and getting God in is a way to eliminate that. So is that your ministry? Is that what you talk about? Is that what you found?
Yeah, I mean, I think God is the answer for everything, to any question, really. And with my friend, I think he found unhealthy ways of coping with the pain that he had inside. So I mentioned he was always happy, and a lot of us will have for all of that energy, all that steam, you need a release gauge, right? To let it out. And I don't think he ever let it out in a healthy way. He got involved with drugs and stuff. And I think that was his way of coping. And I think that impacted his mind. And we could get into, there's also spiritual warfare and things we could talk about. I never believed in any of this stuff, but after witnessing what my friend went through, and he told me he was hearing voices, and I noticed his eyes changed. The eyes are the windows to the soul, and I saw that in him as well. So the spiritual warfare aspect is real. We don't have to get into that today. I know it's kind of an intense topic, but yeah, it's I think it's death by a thousand cuts where you start losing your mind, and God is the answer. And I also believe it's a matter of actively seeking God and seeking to purify ourselves of unhealthy thoughts and unhealthy mindsets, unhealthy habits. If we're engaged in vices, that can also be a path of destruction. So, God designed us, I think, to be virtuous, but we've fallen into, you know, actions that have gone against that. So, I don't really believe in original sin, but what I do believe in is sin momentum. Like we in our own lives and in our with our ancestry, everything, we could fall into a momentum or a pattern that goes against the will of God, a certain way of living. So that's why I'm wholehearted and just more than just like confessing and believing and saying you believe something. It's a change in behavior and a change in our mindset that really leads us on a path to redemption.
Yeah, that's very true. Yes. Be transformed by the renewing of your mind. And that's basically what the foundation of this show is all about. But yeah, I mean, your thoughts are so important. And yes, spiritual warfare, that's what they come after. They come after your thoughts, the devil,
Right.
and his angels, come after your thoughts and come after whatever whatever he can put in front of you that would make you doubt yourself and things like that. So yeah, um, uh, definitely God is the answer. So very good, very good. All right, so those are the circle backs. Powerful story, and there's always as we go through life, there are things that whether it's whether you want to believe that it was pre-programmed or pre-written before we were born, that what we will go through and our path. But yes, it's there so we can so God can guide us to our purpose and what he
Right.
wants us to do for his kingdom. And obviously those stories take you into the path that was pre-designed for you. So
Right.
all right.
And I have crazy stories about how all of this has led me on my path to where I am today, that
Yeah.
it's beyond coincidence. It's
Yeah.
it's preordained, and
Yeah.
miracles that have given me a lot of faith. I don't have to like just believe things. I have evidence to back up that God is good and God has a plan for us. There's a divine intelligence guiding everything. And that helps a lot. Like,
Yeah, I agree. I mean, there's one sermon I had the pastor talk about your book of wars, and I have a book of wars. I write them down because every time you win something and every time God comes through and you see the miracles and you see the direction, you wake up in the morning and you get an inspiration and you go do it and it changes things and all that stuff. So I've got definitely my book of
Mhm.
wars. So you've got one too. So that's
it's
amazing.
it's really
Yes.
important to write those things down and to have them in your memory bank, because life is like, you have periods where you have a lot of faith and understanding, and then inevitably you're going to fall into darkness and sadness, and things aren't making sense. It's difficult. You're in a bind. You have to go back to those miracles from earlier in your life. Like, okay, remember when I ha- I had no idea how I was going to get out of this mess, and then
Yeah.
XYZ miracle happened. That going back to that can help you get through whatever darkness you're in now.
Well, it's true, right? I've got them written down. I put it in my book of wars. All the things that I'm successful at, and that I know God was in the midst. So amazing. All right. So
Love it.
that was a good segue into our conversation today. All right. So, your path is about, fitness and supplementation and things like that. So,
Mhm.
and you speak boldly about the dark side of supplements, steroids, and misleading health claims. What did you discover that most consumers don't realize? And how did that shake your faith in your mission?
Well, there's a lot of corruption across the board in society. I think we're like it's all coming to the forefront now with all this Epstein stuff. It's like, wow, like our civilization is just run by very corrupt, kind of wicked people. And I think
Yeah.
that has manifested itself in all kinds of industries across from medicine to politics to all the way down to the fitness and the food industries. We have all the Franken foods, the food isn't real. The supplement industry, it's a bunch of guys on steroids saying, "Hey, take this supplement and you'll look like me." And it's a load of hogwash. They're on copious amounts of drugs. It's
Yeah.
it's all very misleading. So I think we just try to do something different, just offer foods that have been used for thousands of years. They're well studied, like beetroot. Organic beetroot, for instance, is a very beneficial substance for heart health, for exercise. It's the main ingredient in our pre-workout. Another one we sell is like organic tonkat. There's numerous studies about how this helps men boost their testosterone levels in a healthy and sustainable way without having to use steroids, which has destroyed a lot of men's lives. Like
Wow.
I have friends. I have another friend who became suicidal because he was no longer able to have a sex life because
Oh,
his,
wow.
you know, things weren't working anymore after that. And it took him years to get that back. So, not saying there are some men who absolutely can benefit from TRT, but it's very overprescribed and whatnot. But yeah, I'm
Yeah,
rambling
well,
a bit. There's so many things to touch on.
yeah, well, we've heard about the steroids. I mean, it's usually in the bodybuilding category where men wants to bulk up and all that, that they take the steroids. But everybody knows that, at least it's popular knowledge. And I'm not even really into that world, but and if I know it, then they know it, that it affects your sex life, and it affects your liver, and it affects all those bad things. Um, but yeah, I want to circle back to what you said about the corruption. I mean, I think the corruption, and the Epstein is a totally different thing. They want young girls, which is something man has always wanted, from pre AD. They always wanted that. But I think the corruption in America is capitalism. So everybody wants to make money, and now they're not just wanting to make a little money. Now they want to make $1 trillion. A millionaire
Mhm.
now is broke. I mean, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's from the millionaire to the billionaire to the trillionaire. It's just they just want more and more money. So they make products just to line their pocketbooks, and
Yeah.
it's not for the edification of mankind and things like that. So yes,
Yeah.
I agree. There's so many times in our day-to-day life that we can use that extra spark of energy to get us through the day. Recently, while wearing my realtor hat, I showed 7 properties in 6 hours. So I went on my showings armed with Spark Energy Plus Focus and had no energy fades. Spark Energy Plus Focus is your go to pre workout ritual When you need reliable energy to power through a lift, ride, run class, or real estate showings, mix it, sip it, and get dialed in and ready to go. With 0 grams of sugar and essential vitamins and amino acids for mental focus, Spark supports reliable, sustained energy and focus without that jittery spike and crash feeling. Get steady, controlled energy throughout the day with 0 grams of sugar, 120 milligrams of caffeine for alertness and concentration, delivering sustained energy. Amino acids and taurine help balance the caffeine without jitters or crashes. Choline helps performance, mental focus, and clarity. Spark Energy Plus Focus is made by a trusted brand that has delivered real energy for 32 years, trusted by millions with thousands of 5-star reviews. Spark Energy Plus Focus is offering 30% off and free shipping. Go to drinkspark.com and use code TRANSFORM at checkout. That's code TRANSFORM at DRINKSPARK.com. Losing weight is one thing, but keeping it off, that's where it gets really frustrating. That's why Weight Loss by Hers now offers access to FDA-approved Wegovy pill at its lowest price ever, and the FDA-approved Wegovy pen. Wegovy is designed to help you lose weight and keep it off. With Wegovy at Hers, you can lose up to 20% or more of your body weight when combined with diet and exercise. It helps you regulate your appetite, eat less, and keep the weight off. I've been using GLP-1s now for over a year, and I've lost 13% of my body weight, so I still have more to go. And the good news for all of you with needle phobias, Wegovy is the first and only GLP-1 available in a pill, so there are no needles needed. Everything is 100% online through Hers. You will connect with a licensed provider who will determine if treatment is right for you. If prescribed, your medication is delivered right to your door and no insurance necessary. So, are you ready to reach your weight loss goals? Visit forhers.com/transform to get personalized, affordable care that gets you. That's forhers.com/transform. forhers.com/transform. Based on advertised cash price for 30-day supply of medication only, membership required, fee not included, and billed separately. Weight Loss by Hers is not available in all 50 states. Wegovy is the registered trademark of Novo Nordisk AS. To get started and learn more, including important safety information, Wegovy clinical study information, and restrictions, visit forhers.com.
Yeah, I think it's so important for all entrepreneurs truly to align their business with the kingdom of heaven. Like if your business is hurting people or leading people away from God, then it's like, okay, your business, if it's not aligned with Jesus, what's it aligned with? It's Antichrist then,
Align
right?
with your pocketbooks.
Right. And the early Christians really, this is ignored in most churches. You, like, I don't mean to offend anyone, but you go to the Vatican and it's all lined with gold everywhere. Like they could sell the gold in one of those churches and feed 1 million people. Like it's that extravagant. But the early Christians, they lived in voluntary poverty. They, I, not that there's anything inherently wrong with wealth. There's some righteous, wealthy people in the Bible and, of course, in the world right now. But I think they understood the corrupting influence of desiring wealth and orienting your entire life around seeking wealth and seeking possessions and seeking worldly power. This can absolutely corrupt your soul. So it's not intrinsically evil, but you need to be a very strong, righteous, rooted, grounded person in order to have wealth and what's the word when how you control it and use it in a useful and righteous way.
Well, yeah, for the kingdom. That's basically, yeah. I mean, I have no problem with, wealth. I mean, and because yes, I mean, I was just listening to a book this morning, and the guy made the statement that if you have money, you never have a problem because money solves all problems. But it doesn't mean that you get it in a bad way, because if you've got money, you can buy the help that you need, and you can, you know, get the best health care. You can give to the poor. You can help your churches. I mean, but yeah, living in poverty it doesn't help anyone. But
Oh yeah,
yeah,
for sure. For sure. It on the flip side, being poor is not a virtue.
no,
Exactly. I think what Jesus said is Jesus summed it up best. He said, "What good is it to gain the whole world and to lose your
it's
soul in the
just
process?" Right.
right, right.
So I think it's just, I think we should seek first the kingdom above all
Yes,
things. So whether you're poor or wealthy, either way, loving God and loving your neighbor is the greatest commandment of all, wherever you are on the spectrum. So that should come first. And if you do have a business, we all need to survive, right? There's nothing wrong with providing for your family and accumulating wealth, but not at the expense of your spiritual walk. And I also think if being poor can be detrimental to your spiritual walk if it's rooted in sloth or some other kind of sin, right? You're not working hard,
right.
whatever it may be. That's also um holding you back spiritually.
Yeah.
So it's all kinds of interesting dynamics at play.
Yeah, 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 I agree. I definitely agree. It's much better to be, yes, it's just what you do. For instance, I was even before I started my walk with God, I had a conscience, and I was a salesperson, in my younger life. And a lot of salespeople lie and tell you things that their
Mm.
product is going to do when it should. And I've always lived in that capacity, that I'm not going to lie to get a sale. I'm not going to misrepresent myself and my company. So that's the thing, that you've got to always be a good standing person, right? And
Yeah.
then, if you follow the right path, then wealth will come to you. You don't even have to go seek it. It will come to you. It's a byproduct. And that's basically what I believe, right? So, I mean,
Totally.
yes.
Yeah. Have you ever, sorry to interrupt, but have you ever studied or looked into near-death experiences of people who say someone's like in a car accident and they die at the scene and then they are resuscitated and they come back and they've like experienced death and what it's like. And all of them say the same thing essentially. There's a light, they go into the light, they're greeted by angels or family, and then they have a life review and they experience everything they've done in their life, the good, the bad, and the ugly, and they have to account for it. Every person they hurt. And one of the common things is they have to experience every time they've hurt or helped someone, and they experience that from the vantage point of the other person. So, like,
Mm,
as your salesperson, if you were a salesperson, you're lying to people, you'll experience all the pain that that lie caused these other
cause people,
people.
right? Yes, yes, yes.
So it really validates the gospel of Jesus that you know, to love God and love your neighbor as you love yourself,
Right.
that, what you did to me, you did to the least of these. When we're
Mhm.
everything we do to each other, we're doing to God in a sense.
Right,
So
right.
we actually love God by loving each other and being truthful and being kind and all these things.
Beautiful. I love that. Yeah, I've um I've had about three people on the show talk about their near death experiences.
Nice.
And yes, the to me, what I remember is the fact that it's so beautiful and it's so loving, and they don't want to come back, but they say, it's not your time yet.
Yeah.
Everybody talks about how beautiful it is, and how they feel all this big love and all that. But yes, not everybody has the review. But at least they didn't get to that stage. But yeah, we know that that's what we've heard. So that's pretty good.
It's
Yes.
pretty good to keep in the back of your mind when
Your
you're having
mind.
a bad
Right.
day.
But you're gonna have to answer. Right,
There.
right. For what
And
you
that
did.
the
Okay.
substance of the universe, they all say the substance of the universe is love. God is love. So it's I mean, that gives me a lot of hope and a lot of peace in the chaos of life. Okay, God is pure love. That's pretty awesome.
Yeah, yeah, you got to become love, right? Yes,
Yeah.
yes, yes, yes. Be like Jesus, be love, right? Yes. All right, amazing. All right. So you also leaned into fasting and prayer and the plant-based lifestyle. How did that from from your origin story with your mom and your best friend, how did you start leading into the plant-based lifestyle and, fasting? I mean, I know prayer was probably always there. How did that
Yeah.
happen?
Yeah, there's through all these experiences, there was a lot of pain and confusion, and through reading about not just Christianity, but all of the spiritual traditions around the world, they recommend fasting and prayer as something to do when you're lost and confused. I mean, Jesus said, when you fast, not if you fast, but when you fast. Jesus fasted for 40 days before starting his ministry. And I think he was really showing us the way because when you fast, you're clearing out all of the noise. Energetically, digestion takes up so much energy, and it really, like, even your mental energy. So when you fast from eating food, it does a few things. First of all, you free up energy for spiritual pursuits. That energy is now available for you to connect with God. Second of all, it allows you to kind of overcome the voice of the devil, if you wanna think of that symbolically or literally, but the voice in your head coming up a million times telling you, "Come on, you don't need to fast, just eat something. What's the point?" And, that same voice appeared to Jesus. The devil came to Jesus and just like, "Come on, dude, you could eat." You know? Tempted him with food, tempted him with worldly power, all this stuff. So you literally strengthen your own mind and your own willpower when you fast, and that bears great fruit after the fast when you get to life. When any kind of other temptation that might be harmful comes up, you've built that muscle of saying no. So that's really powerful. And then there's other stuff we could get into, like parasites, um, that are can have an influence on our mind and our biology, and fasting really diminishes their influence over us. So, yeah, huge fan. I really think fasting attracts miracles. For anyone listening, if you're in a tough spot in your life, you don't know which direction to go, you need a miracle, I highly recommend fasting combined with prayer.
Nice. So how long do you recommend the fasting for?
It depends how experienced you are. I'm starting a 5-day fast today, but I've done up to 7 days. A 24-hour fast is good if you're just getting started to build up some momentum and build your willpower. But 48 to 72 is good. For females, it's a bit different. There's some hormonal implications, but there's tons of information. You could even go on ChatGPT and ask. There's ways to sync it with your cycle. There's a specific time period within a cycle that is ideal for women. It's not my expertise, but there's a lot of information.
Maybe it's not. Yeah, well, that's one of the things that I have not mastered. I tried the 3-day fast because I guess after 3 days, what I was going to, it wasn't a spiritual thing for me. It was just if what you call that word, autophagy, when you
Autophagy.
right, right, when you recycle your cells and things like that. So I've done that.
Mm.
Yeah, if you can, yeah, fasting, I know it's very good for the body. I mean, and I'm glad that you highlighted how it's good for the mind because it's very true. If you can get, in fact, I was in a I was in a course on the weekend, and the guy talked about an ice challenge, and he says, put your hand in ice for 3 minutes, and he says that if you can do that, and he was spiritual too. It's Myron Golden, he's
Oh, I love Myron.
yeah, I love
Yeah.
Myron, exactly, right. Yeah. I mean, he's one of the people that preaches wealth for Christians, right? There's nothing
Yeah.
wrong with being wealthy, and I follow him because of that. So,
Yeah, I love Myron.
yeah,
He's been
I
a
was
bigger
on his
influence.
challenge, and he said, I didn't do it, but because I haven't gotten around to it. But basically, what he's saying is exactly the same thing, and that if you can stick your hand in ice for 3 minutes, you all that stuff that, when you're running from something, it's building that resistance, right? So,
Mhm.
so what you just said is amazing because it's the same thing fasting does, because we all know that if you're going to do a 3-day fast or a 5-day fast, the first 2 days is going to be hardest. And then after that,
Yep.
right, it gets better. And if you can get rid of the voices that says, eat till you're hungry, it is an amazing thing. And I never actually connected the dots, about what you just said as far as fasting goes. Cause you know,
It's
I'm
like bodybuilding
not
for the soul.
fasted spiritually at all. I'm sorry.
It's like bodybuilding for the soul. It's like working out for your soul.
Right.
Every time I fasted, I've come out with a stronger character.
Mhm.
Really, it's like putting your personal development on fast forward a bit. So like what a couple days is like a year's worth of spiritual growth. It's crazy.
Wow, wow, wow. All right. So you see, I told you I'm not sold out. I'm not
I think you're doing a
I
great
haven't done the
job.
fasting thing yet.
Yeah, but you're
You
helping
know,
so many people.
what was that?
Yeah, but you've committed your life to helping so many people, and that's really what it's all about, the service.
Thanks for that. You're right, exactly. I'm anointed to do this work. And then God shows up and helps me get this message out. But yeah, but right. I learn as I go along, and my church just finished doing a what was it? A 3-week fast. But
Nice.
but no, it wasn't that kind of fast that you're talking about. They're saying, so, you fast from a meal, or you fast from a food, or you fast
Yeah.
from sugar, or you fast, but it's not the starving all day long fast.
Well, I'm glad you said that because
Mm.
something me and my crew of people who are really into this kind of plant-based form of Christianity, we
Mhm.
talk all the time about the Daniel fast. I'm not sure if you're familiar with the story, but the prophet Daniel was taken into exile in Babylon, and he was like an advisor, a slave advisor for the king. And they would have these big balls, and they would feed all of the meats and the wine from the king's court. And the prophet Daniel refused the meat and the wine, and he said, let's do an experiment. I'm not going to eat I'm just going to eat vegetables and drink water, and let's see what happens. And he does this. They call it a Daniel fast. No meat, no wine, just fruits and vegetables. And he became, one of the wisest and strongest men in the kingdom. Th- Throughout this story, he's thrown to the lion's den, and the lions spare him. They see that he's a righteous man, all this stuff. So for people who don't feel comfortable doing a full fast with just water, I highly recommend a Daniel fast where you just eat fruits and vegetables for a couple days. That is an amazing spiritual experience as well, and a biological reset.
Oh yeah, that'd be great. I've done that. Not just vegetables and water, but I've fasted from meat, for like a week or something. So
Great.
right, yeah, I'm not a big meat eater anyway. I just, eat chicken and a little bit of
Mhm.
fish, but I don't eat red meat.
Nice.
But yeah, because we all know that fruits and vegetables is the best thing for you. So I
Mhm.
mean, you what you're talking about is organic muscle. And
Mhm.
I read a story a long time ago about someone that did the Ironman competition, and he was a vegetarian. So we know that plant-based can build muscle. It's been around, it's been proven. But yeah, so that's basically what your work is, right? You're talking about.
Yeah, plant-based organic nutrition. I mean, some of the greatest athletes in the world are vegan or vegetarian. Novak Djokovic is the greatest tennis player in the world, and he's fully a vegan. Imagine that. The greatest
But he
ultra
doesn't have a lot of muscle. He's very lanky.
he is kind of lanky, but I mean, there's Torrey Washington is a natural bodybuilder, meaning he's not on steroids, and he's in the highest level body. He was just approved to go into the highest level of bodybuilding with a bunch of meat eaters who are on steroids. There's There's, I mean, me personally, since I've been vegan, my strength has exploded. It's crazy. And look at all the animals that are plant-based and they're massive. A rhinoceros,
Yes.
you know,
Yes. Yes.
a horse. Think about how strong a horse is. They just eat grass. And elephants, and you'll notice that it's the combination. It's like, what is our priority? Just being as strong as possible, or being strong and healthy and living a long time? And you'll see in nature, the animals that are plant-based live way longer than the carnivorous animals. You know, lions and stuff, they live 20 years if they're lucky, but elephants live 70, 80 years. Tortoises live hundreds of years. Um, and we see this in the blue zones too. You know, if you go to Sardinia and Okinawa and where the Seventh Day Adventist community in California, they're eating very low protein diets and they're living a long time. So I like to think of it as balancing strength, longevity, and overall health.
Well, I actually agree. I mean, I have not gone vegan or anything like that, but I know the benefits of fruits and vegetables, because one of the things that I do, even though I'm a Christian, I follow a lot of the Indian gurus and people from India, and they don't eat
Nice.
meat, right? You know what I mean? Yeah. So I think it helps to purify your body and all that. And then of course the meat is all tainted with all this hormonal stuff and all that stuff that's bad for you, and the chicken too.
Oh yeah.
Where was I seeing something the other day? The chickens had no head. They were just making them like the GMO. They're not real chickens, right?
Oh, like Franken chickens.
What was that?
Franken chickens.
I don't know what they call them, but I'm pretty sure I saw some kind of plant somewhere where the chickens had no heads, so they weren't real chickens. And these
Oh
are all
my
the things
goodness.
that we're eating, and we know that it's very bad for you. So yeah, if we go back to the source, fruits and vegetables. I'm originally from the Caribbean and, a very poor country. So when I grew up, we didn't have money for meat. We eat fish and we eat a lot of vegetables, and we eat a lot of not just vegetables like vegetable plants, a lot of the root vegetables like yams and cassavas and potatoes and things like that.
Mhm.
And those are all very good for you as far as your gut health. And but yeah, so a lot of times I go into that kind of diet where I don't eat meat. I just eat, or pumpkins and okras and those
Yeah.
type of things. Anyway.
Yeah. Oh, that's great. I mean, you look super healthy. Um,
Thank you.
it's so interesting what we talk about on our podcast too, and this is controversial. A lot of people don't want to hear it, but the early Christian movement was largely or mostly vegetarian. And we've done full documentaries and long 3-hour long podcasts going through the episode of all the church fathers and all of the historical proofs. And there's just so many. It's like it seems like everyone was a vegetarian except Jesus, which gets into the part of the Christspiracy, we call it, about the fish stories. But I could go through some of the proofs real quick. Jesus had a brother named James. James the
Right.
Just, widely attested to. He was the first leader of the church, the Jerusalem church. He led it for 30 years, widely regarded as the most righteous man in early Christianity after Jesus. And we have 4 church fathers saying he was a lifelong vegetarian from his mother's womb. So did he grow up in the same household as Jesus, and they just had Jesus eating meat and James not eating meat? Doesn't really make sense. Then we have Eusebius, the father of church history, saying that all 12 of the disciples um, did not eat flesh. There's attestations about the apostle Matthew being a vegetarian. And then we have many of the church fathers also being vegetarian and saying that the eating of meat was not so from the beginning, that it was a corruption that happened during the fall. So in the narrative of the Bible, we have the Garden of Eden. God prescribes a plant-based diet for humanity. And later humanity falls into sin, right? And you could say the dark forces took over in the world. The Watchers came, the giants in the book of Enoch, and they taught humanity about the eating of flesh. And this is one that the lifespan goes from 1,000 years old down to 70 years old, right? It
Yeah,
coincides,
yeah.
right, with the.
So you're putting fish as flesh? Because I don't understand the vegan stuff. You don't eat fish?
I don't eat fish, but I think it's a pescatarian diet can be very healthy, and I totally understand if people accept the fish stories in the Bible, because there are stories of Jesus
Yeah.
eating
The
fish and
5
stuff.
loaves of bread and the 2 fish.
Yeah. Yeah, totally. So I
Greatest
completely
miracle in the Bible. It has fish in it. Right.
I completely understand if people eat that. But there's two things. In the early patristic commentaries on the Bible, they only talk about the loaves. The fish is missing, which is an interesting little conspiracy. Seriously, if you read what the church fathers write about those stories, they never mention the fish.
Okay.
But more importantly, if we accept that Jesus ate fish and the apostles ate fish, that's perfectly fine. But does that mean that we can still support the wholesale slaughter of 100 billion land animals? The the mass oppression of cows and these sentient mammals that feel tremendous amounts of pain. Just because Jesus ate fish doesn't mean we could support the brutal treatment of billions of cows. Cows are extremely sensitive beings. So are pigs. They can suffer more than dogs, and we kill billions of them for years. So I know in my heart that Jesus would absolutely reject our wholesale factory farming system, the amount of bloodshed, the amount of pain and suffering it inflicts, and the way it affects our human health. Us being healthy is an act of love to God. God gave all of us a mission on earth, and if we're cutting our lives short, we're cutting God's design for us short as well.
Yeah, that's what your bio talks about, right? Being returning to God's design. I love that. Okay. So, you also talk about the elite health markers that once you reject meat and performance enhancements, something a lot of people believe is impossible. What myths about masculinity and muscle culture are you trying to dismantle? I think we covered a little bit that a minute ago, where we were talking about you can't build muscle just on plant protein, but obviously that's a myth. So is there any other myths that you want to dismantle?
Yeah, I mean, it's I used to believe all this. I used to think vegans were the most pathetic losers in the world. I thought that, especially a vegan man, what a pathetic, effeminate joke of a human being. And now, of course, I am one, right?
Right.
But I believe
But,
that.
but let's make sure. So there is the vegan that don't eat dairy and eggs and everything. They just eat fruits and vegetables. That's and rice is that. So let's talk about what when you say vegan, what we mean.
Yeah, so there's I mean, I was vegetarian for a long time. Vegetarians, there's different types, but usually that refers to you just don't eat flesh. You eat everything else. So you could eat eggs, you could eat
Okay.
dairy, cheese, milk, and then plants and fruits. Vegans reject all animal products, so they don't have cheese or milk or eggs or honey. So that's the main difference. When I'm talking, I'm mainly just referring to vegetarians, people who don't eat
Okay.
meat.
All right. Okay.
But the myth is that you can't be a man and be a vegan, or you can't have healthy testosterone levels. I mean, it sounds a little ridiculous. I don't want to brag, but like myself and my friends who are on this path, we're all in the top 1% of testosterone for men our age,
Wow.
not on steroids, literally top 1%.
And what do you attribute that to? It can't be just the vegetables. Is that what you're saying?
Well, it's a combination of factors. It's the healthy diet and also eating organic, not ingesting, the glyphosates and stuff. The fasting really helps. Studies show that fasting can double your HGH levels, a 48-hour fast. Um, and yeah, I just think it's a holistic approach to health. Tonkatali, my company Organic Muscle, there's herbs like Tonkatali that can massively boost your testosterone in a healthy way. But it just goes to show that the myth isn't true, because they say it's like impossible to have healthy testosterone without eating meat. But honestly, most of the carnivore and animal-based influencers I know are all on steroids. So, well, what is it?
So I know it sounds like you do a lot of research. So why is it that they're putting out the message that you can't have testosterone or healthy testosterone without meat? You know, my husband is one of the ones that I keep telling him that meat is bad for him. And he goes on this steak diet all the time because he wants muscle and obviously I don't know if it has anything to do with testosterone, but he doesn't
Yeah.
listen to me. So what is the message out there that meat gives you test what are they basing it on?
Well, I mean, here's the thing. I do think meat can be beneficial in the short term, but you're sacrificing your long-term health for short-term muscle and short-term, you could get really shredded. You could lose fat eating a carnivore diet, but you're kind of sacrificing your long-term health. And there's the moral conundrum of it all that, it's like, okay, you put on some extra muscle, but how much harm have you inflicted on sentient creatures? So there's multiple layers to this. I have friends who eat a lot of meat and they're very healthy, but I just believe they're gonna age faster and put themselves at risk for certain diseases later on.
Okay. So what the question was though, what's the science between meat and testosterone? That was really the question. What is it that the meat gives you that they say helps your testosterone? Is there
I
any
think
such thing?
I think they would say like the vegan diet is deficient in some of the things that meat has, like the B12 and the animal-based iron and stuff like that.
Okay. And
But
that helps with testosterone.
yes, that's what
Okay.
they would
All right.
say. Yep.
But then your way is doing much better based with your plants and not having any of this poison that goes into the meat with all the injections they give to the cows and all that stuff. So
Yeah.
you're doing clean, healthy living, and that you're seeing the same or better benefits.
Yes, from my personal experience and the numerous people I've spoken with, a lot of the carnivore guys, they like to call us soy boys. But the funny thing, it's like an insult, because there's a myth that soy is estrogenic.
Yeah.
So, but the funny thing is that 95% of the soy grown in the United States is grown to feed cattle. That is grown, that is given to the cattle. So really, if you're eating a lot of steak, that actually is more of a soy. I rarely ever eat soy. So I think it's kind of poetic and funny.
Wow, you're very right. Yes, if you're gonna have a steak diet or a meat diet, then you're getting all that estrogen and all the other stuff that they give to the cows. Right.
Yeah.
Wow. Wow. That's amazing. All right. Well, we've even had a good conversation. Let's put some women in this conversation.
Awesome.
So, for women listening who has lived in survival mode, especially after trauma, health can feel overwhelming. How do you help people move from a shame-based motivation to stewardship-based living, using the same principles?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think it's a mindset shift. Shame is really unhealthy. It's really unhealthy, and I don't think it should be the catalyst for the fitness and health journey. I think that love, love for yourself and love for others is really a better launching pad for your health journey. Love every morning when you wake up and you decide what you're going to eat and what you're going to do. So that's something that is cultivated through prayer. I think that self-love and that relationship with God. And honestly, when you start seeing results, it builds on itself and it helps you love even more. That momentum, it's like it becomes so addictive. So I always tell people setting these huge goals can actually be counterproductive. It's good to have a goal in your mind, but I always tell people just start building momentum in a small way. If you're in a bad place, take one deep breath. Do one air squat, do 5 air squats, do something. And then you've built a little momentum. Okay, go drink a glass of water, of clean water. You've built some momentum. And building momentum can change the course of your life. Because I think a lot of people are really struggling. They're stuck in that negative momentum of eating poorly and not exercising. So the first priority should just be to stop that negative momentum. And you could do that with little small actions. Just just fast. If you normally eat a big breakfast, just fast to lunch. Make one small little change that starts shifting the momentum.
Yeah, that's very true. And I heard something the other day. I was listening to a book, The Compound Effect, and he was talking about if you were, you like that book? Yeah,
Mhm.
that if you were just, you know, not eat a yogurt or, like you said, fast for breakfast, fast for lunch, fast from the sodas, fast from whatever, that 100 calories that you save one in a day is going to compound where you can lose 30 pounds in a year. Can you believe that? Even from, for 100, saving that 100 calories. So that's great. Yes. And it's also, people think that they have to do big things. They have to go to the gym and they have to work out for an hour and they have to, lift weights and they have to do all these different things. But yeah, the compound effect is teaching us that one small thing, whether you, work out for 5 minutes, it's still 5 minutes compounded over, a whole bunch of time, and it makes a difference. So yeah, I like that where you make one small change. And right. And even with
Mhm.
me, I have weeks where I don't eat any meat. But I eat meat. But there's some meat because I know that fruits and vegetables is the diet that you should have. I mean, we all know that. With that we don't know that. I'm not, maybe the only reason I might not know that, my husband might be hard to convince because he's got a lot of muscle and he likes muscle.
Yeah. You
So
know,
whenever I try to give him food that doesn't have meat, he says, "Where's the meat?"
yeah, yeah. It's so true what you're saying too. And like with the diet and the exercise or making some of these small changes, you learn to love it. And that's why it's so important to change the direction and the momentum because like I didn't really like eating this way for the first couple weeks I started. Now I love it. I'm thrilled. Every meal, I just love it. No one likes exercising the first time you start doing push-ups or go to the gym. It sucks.
Yeah.
It's terrible. It's painful. But now it's one of the greatest joys in my life.
Yeah.
So give it some time, keep doing it, endure through the parts that aren't fun, and gradually you'll start to love it.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, you've convinced me. Maybe I'll do a 24-hour fast and start.
Nice.
See, get rid of the thoughts in my mind for that I'm hungry. Yeah, because that's really great.
I
All
love
right.
that.
So tell our listeners about your company, Organic Muscle. Talk about your products, your website, your social media, and how they can connect with you.
Sure. Well, my company's Organic Muscle. We make USDA organic supplements like healthy pre-workouts, beetroot powders, greens powders, hydration supplements. I know we talked a lot about testosterone and stuff, but we have about 50% of our audience is female and they love all of our, hydration supplements and our greens and everything. So you could check us out at organicmuscle.com. And you can find me on social media at James Benefico. And my podcast is called the Jesus Way Podcast on my friend Aaron Abke's YouTube channel.
Okay. Awesome. All right. So people always say that so fast, I can already write it. But, I get it from the transcript.
Okay.
Right. So yes, that's amazing. All right. So I should definitely try out. So your you have protein powders too?
We do not have protein powders, but we have all the other stuff. We have nootropics.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, yes. I'll definitely try some out too. I like that your 50% of your clientele is female. Amazing. All right. Well, yes, I will have a summary of my conversation with James on the show page, which is myhelps.us, and I will link out to his website and his social media, and also you guys can follow him and definitely on his podcast. I mean, today we had a really good conversation. So his podcast, Jesus is the Way. So that's amazing. I mean, he shows you that the Jesus Way podcast, sorry. So yeah, you can tell that he's definitely sold out, and when you matching spirituality with health and fasting, so that you can get the renewal of your mind and the transformation of your mind working together. That is a powerful thing. So, James, I want to thank you for reminding us that healing isn't found in the shortcuts. It's found in surrender, discipline, and obedience. And your story proves that God cares about every part of us, your body, mind, and spirit. So for you listening, and I've got a new name for you guys, the Transformers.
Wow.
Yes, I was trying to come up with a name for my community, and I came up with Transformers. So
I love it.
you love it, right? I love it too. So, um, uh, for you Transformers, if this episode stirred something in you, I want you to ask yourself, what is God inviting you to release so that you can truly heal? So James talked about releasing the voices in your head, and the voices that the spiritual warfare, all that stuff is in your mind, which is why this show is all about transforming your mind. So God is inviting you to release it so that you can truly heal. So be sure to check out the show notes for James Benefico, Organic Muscle, the Jesus Way podcast. And remember, your past does not get the final word. You are still becoming every day. You're still becoming every day. You get up and you pray and you put God first. And I love what James talked about. When you have a business, right? You've got to operate it that you're helping mankind and the kingdom, and not just about lining your pocketbook with money. You've got to have a purpose. So thanks, James, for being on the show. I love our conversation. It's probably the first one I've had on the show that went deeply into the Bible.
Oh, amazing. Yeah, thank you so much. That was a beautiful conversation. I love what you're doing, inspiring your audience, giving them the tools to renew their mind. That's a beautiful mission, and I really appreciate
Thank
it.
you. I appreciate it. Yes, that's what God has me here doing. Amazing. So, as we wrap up, any last words?
Oh, just everyone, when times are hard, just know that it's going to be okay. And you're loved. You're loved more than you know. And reach out to someone if you're really struggling. And reach out to me. If you're really struggling, you could shoot me a message. And people love you, and things will get better, I promise. That's all.
It's true. It's true. It's true. Yes. We could end on this one. The darkest part of the night, dawn comes in the morning right after. And
Yeah.
every morning, the sun will shine. The sun just, sun's always shines. So yes, we're going through darkness. It's only for a short time. It will get better.
Yes.
Never
Indeed.
stays that way. So yes. And the flip side, obviously, you can be going through sunshine and then the darkness comes, right? So
Yeah.
it's
The cycles of life.
the cycles of life, right?
Yeah.
Well, listen, James, thank you so much for being on this show. Thank you for this wonderful conversation. Thank you for inspiring me to, start fasting.
Oh, beautiful. Let me know how it goes. I'm really excited for you.
Yes, I will do. All right, guys. Thanks for tuning in. Until next time, namaste. Thank you,
Namaste.
James.
Thank you.